Hello again, YouTube. This is Veteran Mountain Man coming to you from the People's Republic of Portland, Oregon. And today we're going to discuss some of the amendments that were passed after the Bill of Rights. And we're going to talk about why they were important. So the first one off the bat is Amendment 11. And the 11th Amendment actually changed the legal statutes. That was Section 2 of Article 3. So that people could be extradited to foreign nations where they had committed crimes. And part of the reason is there was a risk that with the way it was previously set up, so that an American court had to administer that a person could flee to the United States and then the foreign entity bring forward a charge against them, and the United States, it wasn't a law. And so the person would just be let go. And that is kind of antithetical to a good neighbor in a large world. So we set it up so that people could be extradited. And that's what the 11th Amendment really was. Now, the next one was the 12th Amendment, and it was passed in 1804. And it was kind of important, because it redefined some of the statutes and processes for electing a president, including who was legally considered a citizen to vote. And it led to the rise of popularism and populistism, and it also caused one of our first populist presidents, Andrew Jackson, to be elected because of this change here. Primarily, it changed it so that everyone that was considered a citizen was voting, and not just male owners with certain statutes, landowners with certain that met other statutes. It also set it up so that all of the votes would be counted for anybody who did cast a ballot. Now, this was later amended by the 20th Amendment, and so we're not going to go into it too deeply because we'll cover it more in detail in the 20th Amendment. Now, the next one to come along was the 13th Amendment. And the 13th Amendment was really pivotal. I mean, a lot of people probably know of the 13th Amendment and don't realize that it's actually the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment was ratified in December of 1865, shortly after the Civil War. And, here's what it says. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crimes whereof the parties shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to the United States jurisdiction. Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. That's Section 2 of the 13th Amendment. So that's what it was, people. 13th Amendment freed slaves. It ended the institution of slavery and indentured servitude within the United States. Now, the 14th Amendment, and I was talking with somebody about this just the other day, was ratified in 1868 in the middle of the Reformation after the Civil War. And it basically redefined what determined whether or not you were allowed to be in the United States. Section 1 states that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to jurisdictions thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state in where they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges and immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protections of the law. Now, this gets abused a bit in this day and age, particularly here in Oregon. The Attorney General has filed suit against President Trump, trying to stop President Trump from vetting refugees from 7 countries in the Middle East and Africa, citing that this is part of the reason. Well, this is bullshit because they're not here. So therefore they don't fall under this. Section 2 of this, representatives shall be apportioned among the several states according to their respective numbers, counting the whole number of persons in each state, excluding Indians not taxed. But when the right to vote at any election for the choice of electors for President and Vice President, the United States, representatives in Congress, and executives in jurisdictional offices, legislature thereof, it is denied to any male inhabitants of such state being 21 years of age and a citizen of the United States. This basically just dictates what constitutes an elector. It also then in Section 3 discusses how no person shall be a senator, representative, or elector if they have given aid to an enemy of the United States. Section 4, the validity of public debt, and Congress shall have the appropriate power to legislate. It basically just brought into functionality the truths that people were residents and what a resident was. It made some minor changes. Now, the last one that we're going to talk about is the 15th Amendment, and it was ratified in 1870, and it covers the right to vote. It states as follows: the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Section 2 of that states that Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. That's actually a pretty standard second article for most of the amendments. So why were these amendments important? Well, as we were talking about earlier, the first one that we discussed, Amendment 11, brought the rise of populism, which, of course, has helped get President Trump elected. He ran on a populist ticket. And the remainder of the ones we've discussed today primarily adjusted the way voting occurs in the United States and the determinants of citizenry, which is a very important thing. Because if you can't clearly define citizenship by what it allows, then you don't have citizens. And so if citizenship doesn't have very specific terms to it, you can't be a citizen because it's basically a non-word at that point. You're just a person, and everybody's people, and there are no citizens. So it's important to have these clear definitions of citizenship and citizenry, and it was one of the reasons that they were that important to have that many amendments put forward, and there are more to come. Well, I want to thank you again all for joining me for Amendments 11 through 15. As always, please like and subscribe if you think I am doing great work here. I will be leaving a link in the description to my minds.com account, as well as constitutionus.com, the National Archives, and Amazon.com as well, where you can pick up a copy of the Constitution for $3 as an ebook. Thank you all again, and have a nice night.